Alright guys, welcome back to another video. It's your man Jay Will. So these are two phones that are currently on the market. This is the Samsung Galaxy S8 Plus and this is the HTC U11. Now both of these phones have a ton to offer. I could go on and on about how great both of them are, but I'm actually going to just cover a few things in this video to tell you how I feel about both and how they've both been treating me. Now both of these are my daily drivers at the moment, but I'm going to go ahead and talk about some of the things from both of these phones which I like or dislike and compare them side by side. And you can go ahead and leave your thoughts on each device if you have both or if you just have one or the other. Just tell us how you feel about the devices, how it's been treating you so far. But first, let's get into build quality and design. Now this is totally subjective, but I got a carbon fiber skin on the back of this one. But this back here is slippery, just like this back right here. It's just not as shiny as the U11, but it still has, it's a fingerprint magnet, just like, and it's black also, so you can really see the fingerprints. But hardware-wise, you've got a rear-mounted fingerprint reader next to the camera, heart rate sensor, and LED flash there. And then on the side, you've got the you got a curved screen with this one, so you've got volume rockers and a Bixby button on this side, and then you've got a power button over here. SIM tray and SD card slot combinations on top. Then you have a headphone jack on the bottom, USB Type-C, and a single speaker down there. Now for the HTC U11, it's a little different. You have this liquid crystal or liquid glass setup that they're saying here for their technology to put their phones together. You've got a 12 megapixel on the back, and I'm sorry, this has a 12 megapixel as well. They both have a 12 megapixel, I believe, with a 1.7 aperture on both of them. So they're both some really solid cameras. This one has a 26 millimeter on this one though. So all that taking stuff aside, this has 4 microphones. You've got the 12 megapixel on the back. You got a SIM card and SD card slot on top that double up. A USB Type-C and a speaker out. No headphone jack on this one. And you've got a front-mounted fingerprint reader. Now this one has a 16 megapixel camera on the front, and the S8 Plus has a 8 megapixel on the front. Now hardware-wise, this is totally up to you to decide, but both of these are actually really good hardware. Now as far as the front of these go, the Samsung wins when you're just looking at it straight on. It's a beautiful 6.2-inch display crammed in this body here that's just a little bit bigger, taller than the U11. But you have a curved display on here, so which makes this phone a very narrow, and it's easier to hold in the hand than some other phones. But it's just a little bit more narrow than the U11. The U11 is not really wide at all, but this has curved screens on both sides, so that's just something that makes it feel easier in the hand. This actually has a curved back on it, so that makes this feel easy in the hand. But the U11 is a little bit wider. Now Samsung also has an iris scanner up front and proximity sensors right there next to that 8 megapixel camera. So you do get a 6.2-inch display, and when you're viewing media content, you get all of that display. But when you're not viewing media content, this is probably just about a 5.9-inch display or so. I'm just guessing here. But you don't get all of the display when you're not viewing because you got on-screen buttons down there. Now with the U11, it has permanent off-screen buttons here, so it's got capacitive buttons that light up down there, and you have on either side of the fingerprint reader. So hardware-wise, they're both water-resistant and dust-proof. This just has IP68 and this has IP67. But which one you think looks better for sure is definitely up to you. But I think when they're facing you, the S8 Plus definitely looks a heck of a lot better. But if I didn't have the skin on the back of these, definitely think that the U11 is the better looking phone. This design here, this comes in multiple colors and this comes in multiple colors, but this technology that they're using here to put together the back of the HTC U11, it's phenomenal. Now you see how I'm unlocking these. This has the traditional front-facing fingerprint reader, but this has a rear-mounted fingerprint reader, and I'm a fan of rear-mounted fingerprint readers, but this is, you've heard it a million times, this is so awkwardly placed. It's just kind of strange that they put it up so high, but they did that for some kind of hardware design, I'm sure. Now as far as this phone goes, they're This has a 5.5-inch Quad HD display, and it's just as good, if not better, in some situations. Now, Samsung makes the best displays, a lot of people say, but just looking at them here, I think they're equally matched, and I think both of them are actually beautiful. You're just getting more real estate on here. But hardware-wise, I think overall I prefer the look and feel of the HTC U11. And as far as the screens go, Samsung does make some of the best displays, and the quality, I'll leave it up to you. You're viewing the video, if you have both of these, I still think Samsung makes some of the best displays, period. They're doing very well with making displays. I prefer AMOLED displays, but this probably could pass for an AMOLED display in a lot of situations. You wouldn't even know that it wasn't an AMOLED display just looking at it. So hardware, build and design, it's a toss-up, but I prefer the feel and the look of the HTC U11. And as far as screens go, I'm going to definitely have to give that to the S8 Plus. The S8 Plus, they're packing a 6.2-inch display into a small body. And it has the curved display, and what I'm not a fan of is the non-traditional screen ratio. This 18:5:9 is just weird. And even though you can watch videos and push forward the display or crop the display when in YouTube, it really doesn't matter, because if you do that, it chops off some of the people in the video. I know you guys have seen that before, so it's not as useful. So when you're not doing that, you get these black bars on either side of the YouTube videos. When in fact with the U11 and other phones, not just the U11, other phones that are using the traditional 16:9, you don't have that problem. So there's a mixed bag on each end. Speakers on these things, it's kind of a no-brainer. This has a dual speaker setup, but the S8 has a really loud speaker on it. For it to be a single bottom firing speaker, it's actually really loud, but it still can't match the dual speaker setup from the HTC U11. Feature set, Samsung definitely wins, because again, it has the iris scanner up top, and that's just one additional feature that it has on top of this one. But some would argue that they're kind of equally matched. I mean, this has the squeeze feature for your camera, or not just the camera, I have mine set for the camera, that's probably why I said that, but the Edge Sense is what it's called. You can squeeze the phone and have it open anything you want. Every application on the phone or system file or whatever it is, you can have it do it. Now with Samsung, they actually have an Edge technology, but you swipe over and you can access all your contacts, different news feeds. There's a bunch going on. And Samsung definitely has more features than the S7, the HTC U11, but Samsung software has more features than a ton of other phones, except for when you get into like phones like the Stylo and things like that, where it's kind of matching with software in some ways. But just the inclusion of the iris scanner alone makes this Samsung Galaxy S8 really appealing. So feature set, yeah, it's definitely leaning more towards the S8 Plus. Now cameras on these both have a 1.7 aperture, and they're both 12 megapixels. They both have optical image stabilization. I've done 4K tests on both of these phones, and they're both fantastic. There's no one taking down the other one by a long shot, but the more and more I use these, I realize that the U11 does have the better camera in my opinion. But that doesn't mean that the S8 has a bad camera. It's actually a really good camera. It's just every phone has its strengths and weaknesses. In some areas this phone might perform better, in some areas this might perform better in the camera section. So one strength that this phone does have though is I can do unlimited 2K video, which is 1440p. I can do unlimited 1440p on the front and the back. Now the front 8 megapixel camera on the S8 Plus is not as good as the 16 megapixel camera on the U11. However, this only can record in 1080p on the front and back, and then 4K on the back, and this is limited to 6 minutes. When you do 4K on this phone, you're limited to 10 minutes. So to offset that, I can actually record in 2K for unlimited storage. You can record. There's no timer on it, but if you go to 60 frames per second or 4K, you're limited to 10 minutes. With this phone right here, you're limited to 6 minutes on 4K, which I don't understand that. They both have 64 gigs onboard storage, and they both have an SD card. So I don't know what those limitations are for, but it could be a limitation for, you know, performance, because that's where the U11 definitely is better than the S8. It performs a heck of a lot better. There's no stutters, no hiccups. In the time that I've been using these, it is just no problems with the U11. That's just flat out. I haven't had any software problems, and this software definitely runs better than TouchWiz or Grace UI, whatever it's called. Samsung Experience is definitely better, and it's a lot smoother. There's always just some kind of slowdown or something with TouchWiz or Samsung's UI, and that's just how it's always been. So they keep saying that they made it lighter, you know, it's faster, but it's not matching the U11 software, and it's not matching, you know, stock Android. It's not matching a lot of softwares, but it is packed to the gills with features, and so that's why some people like to tolerate it. But nonetheless, software is definitely a better experience on the U11. Now, when it comes to battery, this is kind of, I'm actually getting better battery on the U11. That's kind of strange. I can barely get 6 hours on here. I can make it. I can do it. But this has a 3,500 milliamp hour battery. And again, this comes down to optimization of software. This has a 3,500 milliamp hour battery. This has a 3,000 milliamp hour battery. But the way Sense UI is optimized is so much better. It's just better. It performs better. So battery life on both of these, I'm getting 6 on both pretty much, but it's a consistent 6 on every charge with this phone, and I for sure can make it a full day. I can make it a full day on here, but you know, getting 6 hours of screen on time doesn't happen every time. So battery, believe it or not, in my experience and in my usage, definitely goes to the U11. Now, some people have gotten 8 hours on their U11. I haven't gotten that yet. And some people have gotten 8 hours on the S8 Plus. I haven't gotten that either. But, you know, nonetheless, it's definitely good battery. U11 for me has better battery. So overall package and, you know, price, this phone, this is the unlocked version of the Samsung Galaxy S8 Plus directly from Samsung, and I paid $824 for it. Now you can find these on sale everywhere now. They're $100 off everywhere. It kind of annoys me that they're so low down in price now. It's almost frustrating, but what can I do? But this phone right here is actually $650 top price. The top price of the U11 is only $650. And you're getting the same internals. Everything is the same, man. You're getting 4 gigs of RAM, 12 megapixel camera, 64 gigs on board, Snapdragon 835. It's just a good setup. They both have the Adreno 540 for the GPU. I mean, it's just it's the same phone, but the U11 is actually clocked a little bit higher at 2.45 gigahertz for one of the cores. So, you know, in the Snapdragon, in the S8 is clocked at 2.35, but the other ones are still clocked at 1.9. So nonetheless, I don't think that makes it any difference. I just know that they're both really, really solid overall devices, but this one has 7.1.1 and this one has 7.0. Now, I don't know if that'll help with battery later, but we shall see. Nonetheless, $599 or $650 or $825 or $725 whenever you catch them on sale. But overall, I definitely would tell a person to pick either one of these, but for me, I favor the U11. So, it's your man Jay Will. They're both really solid phones, but that's my take on it. Leave a comment down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.